Have you ever felt completely misunderstood, looked over, or even rejected for who you are? Like no matter what you do, people just don't see your true worth. It's a painful feeling, one that can make you feel incredibly alone. But what if I told you that one of the most influential figures in all of history experienced this on a level we can barely imagine? What if his story of suffering held the key to understanding our own, and ultimately pointed to a glory that defies all human logic? Stick with me, because today we're diving into a powerful prophecy that describes someone who was despised and rejected, yet destined for unimaginable exaltation. It's a story of paradox, pain, and ultimate purpose. Today we're going to explore a very special passage from the book of Isaiah, specifically chapters 52 and 53. This section is often called the Suffering Servant passage, and it's one of the most profound and detailed prophecies in the entire Old Testament. Written hundreds of years before the time of Jesus, it paints a picture of a figure who would endure immense suffering, not for his own wrongdoing, but for the sake of others. It's a text that has captivated hearts and minds for centuries, offering deep insight into the nature of sacrifice, redemption, and a love that goes beyond our comprehension. As I read, I invite you to open your heart and listen closely to the words. Let the imagery sink in and consider the deep meaning behind this ancient text. Let us read from the New International Version, starting in Isaiah chapter 52, verse 13 through chapter 53, verse 3. See, my servant will act wisely. He will be raised and lifted up and highly exalted. Just as there were many who were appalled at him, his appearance was so disfigured beyond that of any human being, and his form marred beyond human likeness, so he will sprinkle many nations, and kings will shut their mouths because of him. For what they were not told, they will see, and what they have not heard, they will understand. Who has believed our message, and to whom has the arm of the Lord been revealed? He grew up before him like a tender shoot, and like a root out of dry ground. He had no beauty or majesty to attract us to him, nothing in his appearance that we should desire him. He was despised and rejected by mankind, a man of suffering and familiar with pain. Like one from whom people hide their faces, he was despised, and we held him in low esteem. This is the end of the reading. Wow, let's just sit with that for a moment. This passage is incredibly dense and emotionally charged. It starts with this incredible declaration of future glory. He will be raised and lifted up and highly exalted. This sets the stage. We're talking about someone of supreme importance. But then the tone shifts dramatically. The prophet describes a figure who is physically disfigured and marred, so much so that people are appalled at him. Think about that. In a world much like our own that values physical appearance, strength, and beauty, this servant is the complete opposite. He's not someone you'd put on the cover of a magazine. He's someone people would likely turn away from. This is a powerful contrast. The one who will be highly exalted is, at the same time, completely ravaged in his appearance. And then we get to verse 15, which is fascinating. It says, "So he will sprinkle many nations." This word sprinkle is often associated with priestly duties of purification and cleansing in the Old Testament. So this suffering figure in his disfigured state will bring a form of spiritual cleansing to many nations, not just one people group, but many. And the effect is so profound that powerful leaders, kings, will be left speechless. They will witness something so unexpected, so contrary to the world's wisdom, that it will completely reshape their understanding of reality. Then chapter 53 begins with a question, a lament almost. Who has believed our message? It speaks to the difficulty people had and still have in accepting this truth. How could God's chosen one, his powerful arm, be revealed in such a weak and suffering form? It's counterintuitive. The description continues. He grew up like a tender shoot and like a root out of dry ground. This imagery is beautiful and poignant. A tender shoot is vulnerable, easily crushed. A root in dry, cracked earth has to struggle for life, for nourishment. It's not a picture of a mighty oak tree in a lush forest. It speaks of a humble, difficult origin story. There was no royal fanfare, no obvious signs of greatness. And the next lines are perhaps the most heartbreaking. He had no beauty or majesty to attract us to him, nothing in his appearance that we should desire him. He was, in a word, ordinary or even less than ordinary. He didn't fit the mold of a king, a hero, or a celebrity. He didn't have the charisma or the physical presence that naturally draws a crowd. The prophecy is being brutally honest here. If we were there, based on outward appearances alone, we probably wouldn't have given him a second look. And because of this, he was despised and rejected by mankind. It wasn't just that people were indifferent. They actively held him in low esteem. He was a man of suffering and familiar with pain. This wasn't a passing phase for him. Suffering was his constant companion. The pain was so deep that it was as if people hid their faces from him, unable to even look at his suffering. It's a picture of profound isolation and social rejection. When we, as Christians, read this passage, we see a stunningly accurate portrait of Jesus Christ. He was exalted by God, yet his crucifixion left him so marred that he was barely recognizable. He came from a humble background, a carpenter's son from a small town. He wasn't the conquering political messiah many expected. He was rejected by the religious leaders, handed over by his own people, and abandoned by his closest friends. He was truly a man of sorrows, who bore a weight of pain, physical, emotional, and spiritual that is beyond our full comprehension. The power of this passage is in its raw honesty. It doesn't sugarcoat the cost of redemption. It shows us that God's plan unfolded not through worldly power and glamour, but through humility, suffering, and rejection. It challenges our own value systems. What do we find desirable? Who do we esteem? This passage reminds us that God's ways are not our ways. He sees glory where we see shame, and he brings life out of what looks like utter defeat. This suffering servant, despised by men, is the very one who brings cleansing to the nations and reveals a truth so powerful it silences kings. And that is a message of incredible hope for anyone who has ever felt overlooked or rejected. Thank you so much for joining me today to explore this powerful scripture. If this message resonated with you, I'd be so grateful if you'd give this video a like and consider subscribing to the channel for more content like this. It really helps us reach more people. Grace and peace to you, and I'll see you in the next video.